Victoria Mutual, proud sponsors of the SYLBOURNE Show. We are our members. We are Victoria Mutual.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SYLBOURNE Show, and I'm your host, SYLBOURNE Sidiel. Joining us today, we have a man who, amongst his many accolades, was one of the 3 men who was a driving force behind the birth and growth of the hair industry in Britain, with the name Dyke Dryden Limited. I'm sure some of you have heard of that name before. Well, he was one of the first Britain's first black millionaires, and his name is Mr. Tony Wade, who is now an author. Have a look at this video.
On behalf of the directors and staff of Dyke Dryden, we welcome you here today. We sincerely hope you'll have a good day show, because it is necessary that we should meet like this so that we can learn from one another things that should be done for hair and beauty. Thank you.
Organisers of the exhibition today. Can you tell me how you feel it's been going?
Well, it's been going very well. We're pleased with the attendance from the people. They've come from all over the country and abroad to visit the show.
What made Dyke Dryden start the exhibition in the first place?
Well, it was just reacting to a need. All the customers and users of our products needed somewhere where they could go to find out exactly more and more about the products and all the latest styling techniques. And as well, we wanted to promote the manufacturers whose products that we carry, and an exhibition of this type is the best way to do it.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Wade.
Great to be here.
Fantastic. Are you enjoying your Britain trip?
Oh, very well.
Fantastic. How long have you been here?
Well, I've been here from the 28th of June.
Okay, fantastic. You know, before we started, when we decided we were going to have you on the show, we actually put a sort of survey out there to the public to say we're going to have Mr. Wade on the program. And a lot of feedback came back. People were asking, can they come on the show? Can they sit in the audience? Some of them were saying, is he still alive? You know, because of the 3 partners, you're the only one alive, apparently. Is that the case, Mr. Wade?
That's correct.
Fantastic. So therefore, you're batting the ball at the same time, yes? Mm-hmm. Now, for those watching that do not know, tell us a little more about your journey, sir, and where and who you were from during the time in setting out that legacy.
Well, it goes back much before. There was Dyke Dryden. Tony Wade was before that. I came to the UK in 1954.
Yes.
And my first job was to wash dishes at Lyons Corner House.
Okay.
Pushing them in at one end and rolling them down to the other end. So that was a very humble beginning. My father used to say to me, well, remember where you're going, what you're going to do. And of course, you're going looking for opportunities,
yes,
further your education. And I never lost what he said. It's been my guiding principle ever since I came to the UK. Now, washing dishes was not what I came to do, but he said, you make the best possible use of every opportunity. And that was the first opportunity to earn money.
And tell me, while you said washing dishes wasn't what you wanted to do, but you had a clear agenda of what you wanted to do?
Yes,
then?
indeed. And that agenda was to be good at my career, what I wanted to do.
Yes.
One of the things I did when I was washing dishes, came home at nights and I found myself at evening classes. And one of the subjects that I studied was accountancy. And in that, I found what was my first job. I was working then for a very large company, clothing company. They had some 200 men's stores. And my boss, Mr. Louis Siegel, he said to me, Tony, that cash book that you're responsible for, I want to tell you something. That's the most important book in the whole organization.
Yes.
At the beginning of the week, on Monday, at midday, I wanted to know what the balance is in the bank, the amount of money that we have in the bank. And I never lost what he said to me. He wanted to make sure that the thing balanced, and I had for him the figures. That was, and I did my best.
Yes,
in fact,
yes.
I used to get it right to the penny. And the net result was that I benefited from what I was doing. It was a very responsible job, naturally.
So tell us, how did the whole meeting with your other partners, how did that occur during the process of that time while you were doing the same accounting?
Well, here's what happened.
Yes.
I was so inspired by Louis Siegel. Following in his footsteps is what I decided that I was going to do. I was going to go into business myself on my own account. So while I was there and doing his work, I was also coming up with my own ideas.
Yes.
And I set up a business called Carib Services.
Carib Services.
Correct?
Yes.
Carib Services was going to act as a buyer for Caribbean companies here in the UK. And that is exactly what I did. I went to the Department of Trade and Industry.
Yes.
And
DTI.
The DTI.
Yeah.
I picked up some of the companies that was doing business with Britain. And of course, I immediately got a sheet
Yes.
to advertise, applying for people who were wanting to take the advantage of getting somebody buying from them in the UK.
Yes.
And it worked. I had my first order from the Bahamas. And I executed, got what they wanted. In fact, I can tell you what it was. It was stationery.
Yes.
Got my money into the bank, and of course I was very happy that that happened. Now, my colleagues, Mr. Dyke and Mr. Dudley Dryden,
Yes.
we were friends before they went
Yes.
into business. I was so satisfied that what I set out to do, that it actually worked. So I thought, well, they're the first person who should know what the outcome was. So I marched down to West Korean Road where they were located.
Where in UK was that? Where was that?
Well, North London.
North London, okay.
Yes.
Tottenham,
Yes, Tottenham.
your stomping ground.
That's my old stomping ground. And I said, well, hey, boys, I'm going to join you guys in the business world. And here is what, so I showed them what I did and what the end result was. And halfway through the conversation, they said to me, Tony, congratulations. And we wondered, Dudley and I wondered whether you'd be willing to join us in our business. And I said, not so fast.
Yes.
Give me some time to think about it, and then I'll come back to you at a later date.
Yes.
And this was, of course, about 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
I came back and I said, well, yes, I think that would be willing to become your partners.
Right.
But what we'll have to do, we will have to change the direction, because I don't necessarily like what you're doing.
And what was it that they were doing at that time?
Well, they were selling records. They were importing Caribbean records, Jamaican records.
Okay.
And they were selling pre-releases. These were records without any labels.
Okay.
And they had a constituency of the sound systems. People wanting a sound system, the latest sound and all that. So they had a good thing going.
Yes.
But I spotted that the biggest need was hair preparations for our ladies. And nobody was doing that. So there was a gap in the market.
And when you say hair preparation, what do you mean? What type of hair?
Shampoos.
Yes.
Shampoos, hairdress, and that sort of thing.
For me? Could it,
Well,
would it be for me myself?
No, not for you. No,
Not for me.
Not for you.
Okay, right.
But of course, you used to do wigs. You are doing everything.
Okay.
That I thought was the biggest need, and of course, I said, well, provided that you're willing to
Yes,
change direction,
yes.
that is, of course, come out of records and get into wigs and cosmetics, then I would happily join.
Well, you know, the thing about it is that the hair industry, I mean, the Afro hair industry, which you guys were the pioneers for. And one of the questions that sometimes people talk about is that it is not the same sort of ownership which is in that realm anymore. It is now owned by Asians, which you are the pioneer for. Now, what would you say was the catalyst factor that created the shift?
You mean that Asian have
Yeah.
the larger share?
Yeah.
Well, because it's our own fault, black people's fault. The Asians saw something that was good. In
Right.
fact, I used to supply them.
Well, you started it.
Yes. But I was supplying them. They were coming to me and buying all the stuff we had,
Right.
and in fact, buying the largest quantities. You see, what we mustn't forget
Yes.
that business is market-driven. And if you are smart enough to provide what people want, then of course they would go and get it from wherever they want it.
Yes.
Our colleagues, when I say our colleagues, I'm talking our people,
Yes.
people, that they have the same opportunities as the Asian people have,
Yes.
but they didn't take the opportunities. When the time came around and Len and Dudley decided that they wanted to sell, Dudley was literally going around and begging these people and said, well, look, I've spent so much time, the best part of my life here selling, and I would like to get out of it. I want some of the young people to buy our interest.
Some of the Caribbean
Yes.
black and minority. I think,
Yes, some of, and of course, we couldn't get anybody to
Well,
sell the shares to.
do you think it was because you weren't, like the banks weren't supplying persons with loans or wasn't that drive, wasn't that interest was there, or was it that there was no resources there for our people to actually take over what you had, the
Well,
legacy rather?
If you see something that you want,
Yes,
and you want it
badly.
badly, then you'll find a way of getting the money.
Right.
I mean, when we started, we didn't have the money that we wanted, but what we did, we found a way of getting money. Lots of it came from our relations and friends.
Yes.
So what we were doing, and we want X pounds from you, and of course we got it. We pay them back, of course.
Because I understand you guys started with £2,000, if anything like that.
Well,
As a seed, the seed funds, if anything.
the seed funding was more than £2,000.
Okay,
It was significantly more than £2,000. And of course, at 82, I can't remember pound for pound.
Because I think there was a bunch of you guys that your partners pulled together, and during the course of the time when they were supposed to come and put the cash down.
Well, yes. Well, I'll give you the story exactly. As
Yeah,
it
let me
was,
know exactly how that went.
because
yeah.
I've already told you that I wasn't in it, but I went to Sarah. I was so pleased with what they were doing,
Yes.
and I felt, well, that's the direction that I want to go in.
Yeah.
Len and Dudley approached their friends, and said they wanted them to have part of what they were doing.
Yes.
There was 5 people altogether, and on the day that they were asking for money on the table, none of these 5 people turned up. So they were on their own.
Wow.
So that, of course, tells you something. There's, in the first place, the question of mistrust. There was mistrust, and that in the first place. And of course, our people too were also were not risk aware. They didn't understand what it is, that if you want to do something and you want to succeed, then you've got to take.
I'm going to
risk.
come. I'm going to come back to that point about our people and the risk taking. Because one of the reasons why I really wanted you on the show was about trying to get some sort of nugget from you, something from that time, that era. What was it then that you had that is needed now? But we'll touch on that later. But one of the questions is, for those who would say you have failed in leaving a profound and obvious legacy, what would you say to them? Because people are saying that one of the things, is I came here in this country recently, just 92, and one of the things we always hear is that we're not leaving things for our children. And I recall there was a gentleman with a bakery who wanted to get rid of his bakery and to retire, but his son wasn't interested again. And I think it was some Asian guys who actually capitalized on it. So what would you say then about the fact that the legacy is not there? Or is it there? You
Yes,
tell me.
well, the legacy
Yes.
is there.
It is there.
When we started, there was nothing.
Right.
You go everywhere, the length and breadth of the UK, and you will see the legacy that Dyke and Dryden has left.
Yes.
And it's in several ways. It's in books. I got into writing, and of course my
Right.
books are there.
We'll talk about that later, yes?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But there is there's a legacy there. You could go into the public libraries and you would read the magazines,
Yes.
or whatever have you. And there's a collection of the legacy that is being left.
Right.
You go anywhere in Britain and you're wanting to talk about black hair care or black cosmetics, and the first name will come up, Dyke and Dryden.
So therefore, even though it is maybe in the hands of others, but you're saying the seed has been sown, and as a result of that, it is still flourishing, albeit in other hands.
Well, again, as I said earlier on,
Yes.
that why we don't have more people in ownership is really as a result of our fault. So we can't blame people
Yes.
for. The time came when we said, well, it's time, throw in the towel to call it a day.
Yes.
We couldn't go on forever, so the young people had to come in. And you made a point which I will just enlarge on.
Yes.
Now, even our children
Yes.
didn't want to come in. Mr. Dryden wanted to give his shares to his children.
Yes.
Well, they didn't want to know. Mr. Dyke as well, they didn't want to know. My children were too young to get involved.
Right.
But so, it's something really where our youth did not
Tap into.
tap into. They had every opportunity to,
Yes.
but they didn't.
Well,
that's for fact.
That's very interesting. We had put out, as I said, a sort of feeler out for feedback from the public leading up to this interview. And one of the questions that they would like to hear answered, the feedback we received was that the provision of Afro-Caribbean products, especially natural products, is still limited and compared to Caucasian and Asian products often marked up in prices. However, Afro-Caribbean make up a considerable number of our population here in the UK. So the question is, what does that say for Britain and how far we have come as a country since you were in industry?
Well, we have the same opportunity that the other people who are providing the things have.
Yes.
It's a question, if we don't take it, nobody will do it for us. We've got to do it for ourselves.
So what I'm capturing from you, sir, is everything is in our hands.
Yes.
But then, years ago, there was something else. What was it then that propelled you? Because at that time, you never had the banks pushing that much. You never had the apprentice program. You never had the government throwing money at, today, if you were at that age, government would be throwing money at you through the Princess Trust program, would throwing money at you as apprentice to really go forth. You never had that then.
We didn't have it at the beginning.
Yes.
No, we didn't have it. But we saw that there was a need.
Yes.
And fulfilling that need really depends on our entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Depends on what we do. And that was it. It's tougher now than when we were out there trying to carve out a marketplace. It's tougher now than that time. So the question really is that we have to move with the times.
Yes.
We've got to get involved and make, one of my favorite phrases, make our presence felt. That is the key. You've got to make your presence felt.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a key point to take a break on, where he said, Mr. Dyke said, make our presence felt.
I wish to praise Dyke Dryden Limited, which has been in the forefront of the establishment of black businesses in London. But it is not only in business that Mr. Len Dyke and Mr. Dudley Dryden has served the community. They were both active members of the Standing Conference of West Indian Organizations. And in fact, Len was a period its chairman. And together, they have built this business from one shop to several. They are the largest black hair and cosmetic company, and also contributors to the continent. Well, what an achievement. I have to congratulate the boys. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is my greatest pleasure to declare Britain's first international exhibition for Afro hair and beauty open. Lord Pitt joins me in wishing it every success. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on part 1 of this exclusive interview with Tony Wade. Next week we'll have the final segment of the interview, and we look forward to you joining us on the SYLBOURNE Show.
Victoria Mutual, proud sponsors of the SYLBOURNE Show. We are our members. We are Victoria Mutual.